June 19th, 1865, the day Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and officially liberated 250,000 or so enslaved black men and women and children in the Lone Star State. That day was 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, which ended slavery in the rebellious states in the middle of the Civil War. It's been said, well, it took that much time, 2.5 years, for the emancipation news to reach those slaves and slave owners in Texas. But that's not exactly true. They all knew about the Emancipation Proclamation. There was just nobody there in Texas to enforce it until those Union troops showed up under the direction of Major General Gordon Granger, who, when he arrived, issued General Order Number 3. It read, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." Order Number 3 was just 93 words long. However, most of those words, outside of that first sentence, simply urged former slaves to stick around and work for their, quote, former masters. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They're informed they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere. Remain quietly, work for wages, don't even think about getting any sort of assistance to get out on your own. Well, since then, June 19th or Juneteenth or Emancipation Day or Jubilee Day or Freedom Day or Black Independence Day, depending on your location, since then, Juneteenth has been celebrated as an important piece of black history, but usually just within the black culture. That is until President Joe Biden made it a national federal holiday on June 17th, 2021, by signing the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. In the Gem State, which actually became the 5th in the country to recognize the observance of Juneteenth back in 2001, well, that same day, June 17th, 2021, Governor Little proclaimed it would be an Idaho holiday too. Juneteenth marks the celebration of not just a moment in the past, but also a renewed shared commitment to uniting as Americans and ensure equality and opportunity are a reality for all Americans in the present and in the future. Although Juneteenth is still not codified in Idaho, by the way, it still only lists 10 holidays in the state of Idaho, other than Sundays recognized by the state, from New Year's Day to Columbus Day to Christmas. However, Governor Little used the next line of that law to make it happen in Idaho. Every day appointed by the President of the United States or by Governor of the state for a public fast, Thanksgiving, or holiday. Therefore, Juneteenth is now a state holiday. By the way, you know the last time Idaho's list of holidays was amended? That was back in 2002 when they changed Decoration Day to Memorial Day. So, still waiting for Juneteenth to be added to the list in state law. But according to the Pew Research Center, at least 28 states will recognize Juneteenth as a public holiday this year, 4 more than last year. And that means you get a paid day off from work if you work for the state of Idaho. State employees aren't the only ones getting that paid holiday, though. You may have noticed several city and county services and buildings were not open today, but not all. When this first became a thing back in 2021, it became newsworthy when one county decided it wouldn't recognize Juneteenth as any sort of thing. Idaho County, back in 2021, during their October 26th County Commissioners meeting, well, Skip Brandt spoke up to say, according to the Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho County is not obligated to observe or recognize federal holidays. We did try to ask the Idaho Association of Counties about that today, but guess what? They're closed for the holiday. So the Idaho County didn't add Juneteenth to its schedule of paid holidays. And so the question is, why not? Well, when the Lewiston Tribune back in October of 2021 asked Commissioner Brandt this question, and whether the lack of recognition was politically or racially motivated, Brandt's response via email said this: "In this woke movement world, I should say, I recognize that I am a white male. Thus, there is nothing I can do that will not be called a racist and a sexist as far as that goes. We have enough recognized holidays. Americans need to get back to work, not find another excuse not to work. I'm not against anyone celebrating it. The real question," he said, "is, as I suggested today, where are the holidays going to stop?" Apparently, the buck and the holidays stop in Idaho County, and not just there either, because there are other counties who don't observe the holiday. We did take some time today to call around to several counties in southern Idaho. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And 14 of the 18 that we did call do recognize Juneteenth and give their employees a paid day off. The 3 that don't, that'd be Boise County, Camas, and Minidoka counties. Jerome does, but they are still having it, I guess, apparently a commissioners meeting tonight. Lincoln County has a question mark there because apparently the county named for the man who emancipated the slaves Well, they didn't answer their phones today, so I guess they were off, maybe. So back to Idaho County. We did ask Commissioner Brandt if there was any plan to change how they recognize or observe Juneteenth. By email or by phone, we got this response by email. There have been discussions, or I should say there have been no discussions, he said, on adding additional holidays, days of no work. We have plenty of holidays on the calendar, said Skip Brandt.